Right. Jarno, Cordia, how are you, my friend? Where are you?
Good. I'm at the moment in Netherlands for a one-day stopover, just on the way back from Sweden, and then tomorrow traveling back to Switzerland to home.
Traveling. I used to travel, I used to be traveling all the time. How does it feel to be traveling?
Quite good. Yeah, we've been quite lucky. We're together with Jenna, my partner in basically everything.
Yeah.
We're doing these indoor wingsuit camps in Stockholm and Sweden, and that's like 1 week a month.
Yeah.
And with the approach Sweden has had with the whole quarantine stuff, with the whole COVID stuff, and not having any quarantine restrictions, and actually being quite open with the way they treat the whole pandemic, we've been quite lucky with our work and having pretty much been able to travel to Sweden that 1 week a month, almost a full year.
Yeah.
So I haven't missed out too much on travel actually the last year, thankfully.
Fantastic. Well, the wingsuit aerobatics, which you kind of really started, it's now so big with the indoor tunnel. Tell me what you're doing in the tunnel right now. What kind of stuff are you working on?
At the moment, the main thing we're doing is just actually teaching others. So trying to spread the love and make a small penny while doing so. Next to that, we're using the tunnel a lot for our personal training, and combined with that, like trying to do skydiving, but that's at the moment in Europe. That's been a bit harder with both having winter season where there's not too much happening in general, and a lot of the sort of popular drop zones, like Ampurias Brava and like Skydive Madrid, Skydive Spain, Algarve, they've constantly had this like open close thing going on with the whole pandemic, which made it quite hard to plan.
Yeah.
So now when we're back in Switzerland, we're going next week already. We're going to Spain, to Skydive Spain, actually for some training, and it's we're trying to prepare for the Mondial, which hopefully is happening.
Yeah, about 100 days or something. What is it? 100?
Yeah, something like that. It's getting really close, really quick.
Yeah, it is. Well, the drop zone's open here at the weekend, so my rig is in for a repack right now. So we're hoping for some good weather to get going. So with the tunnel that you're using, there's a second one opening in the States, isn't there?
Yeah. Currently, I think at the moment there's actually from what I've heard, there's actually 3, 4, 5 different like tunnel projects going on. I think there's the US tunnel that is currently in like the seeking financing phase, where depending on how quick that goes in this whole like post-pandemic world, that could be opening anywhere 2022, 2023, but who knows, maybe even a year later. There, I guess it's hard to plan because you just don't know how fast that whole thing goes. There's in Europe, I think actually 2 or 3 groups that are trying to build tunnels in various countries. I think there's 1 or 2 planned for like this whole like Central Europe thing. There's in Russia, I think 2 projects that are trying to set up a wingsuit tunnel, and it's of course we're really hoping that it's going to happen, because it would also for us be, I think, a big thing if we could expand our work area with the camps that we do to be it US or other places in Europe.
Yeah. For anybody watching from other air sports who might be slightly familiar with wind tunnels, normally that we use a tunnel for flying in, belly, head down, or a vertical or free fly. It's a wind coming directly from below. Tell us what your wind tunnels, what's different about the ones that you use?
Well, first off, what is I think important is I often get the comments and questions like your tunnel, which sadly it isn't. I've been involved with the tunnel from the start, and when they were in the testing phase, which was basically a completely horizontal wind tunnel from the 1930s in Stockholm, they basically took a small part of the tunnel off, and just with wood they put up like a small angle section to test if this would actually work, and that was like 2016. And then together with Robert Patchnick, we got invited to come to Sweden and actually do some testing. And already in like that small prototype, which was basically only like 2 meters wide, 2 meters high, and 2.5 meters long or so, we managed to do like transitions, back flying 2 ways, and all kinds of cool stuff that was a lot more than expected already for like how small it was.
Yeah.
And then from there, like a year later, the actual tunnel was built. And what it is, it's yeah, let's use a telephone because it's probably easiest. It's a flight chamber that's angled slightly, and that flight chamber can change from a glide of 3, basically 3 meters forward, 1 meter down, to a glide of about 1.5, where it's actually on a piston, and then like the turning vanes that people might be familiar with, which basically channels the air down, that actually moves with the tunnel as it changes angle.
Right.
So the tunnel can actually simulate. Stimulate. Yeah, stimulate. It can basically do different angles depending on like the size of wingsuits that people are flying, or even tracking suits. And there, yeah, it's just a perfect training tool for especially the acrobatic type stuff. For the performance flying side of wingsuit, it's a bit harder. You can still train like the actual precision, which means that if you need to make corrections, you learn to make them like more efficient. So even for performance flying, there are definitely some merits to using the tunnel for training. But I think the acrobatic stuff, and just in general, like people wanting to, you know, get safer or get learn certain skills, the tunnel is just an ideal training tool.
Yeah. What about somebody thinking about doing their first wingsuit jump? Would you recommend the tunnel first?
Well, would you recommend it? It's definitely not an essential thing for like first flights, but we've definitely had a lot of people that came to the tunnel doing like an hour and a half, 2 hours, or even some people just 15 minutes before they actually do that first flight course, skydiving. And I think the biggest advantage is that in the tunnel, you straight away, with the feedback that the tunnel actually gives you from, you know, you're not just seeing that you're moving like 4 or 5 meters left, right, based on another person in the sky, but you're actually seeing 10-centimeter movements.
Right.
So it allows people to learn to fly very precise. And we've already had several stories of people that did a first flight course, and then after 2-3 jumps, they were actually already like back flying and leading other people, just because they already have that actual precision and basically the body awareness in the exact way that somebody that's done like several hours of vertical tunnel before skydiving, and then does AFF, will progress faster. Not necessarily meaning that you will get to flying wingsuit like earlier, like you definitely still need those 200 jumps, or ideally more, to get used to, you know, canopy navigation and just in general falling out of an airplane and surviving.
Yeah.
But there, the tunnel, it definitely adds a lot. And I think especially for people that are sort of nervous about jumping a wingsuit, having that sort of how to say, it's like almost like sense of security that you know how to control yourself is a big thing.
Yeah, that'll be me.
Yeah, and I think nicest has been that in other free fall disciplines have been a spectator sport already, and like wingsuit has mainly been a thing from video for most people. And there, the tunnel has really turned it into like a spectator sport as well, and also one where normally if a non-skydiver saw something on YouTube and they wanted to try wingsuiting, they can. It's a bit like somebody saying, "Can I try big wave surfing?" And I think the funniest comments on YouTube are always the one on the proximity flying base jumping videos. People saying, I'm going to try that one day. And it's like, yeah, but probably no.
Yeah.
But now with the tunnel, you can actually introduce people to wingsuit flying as well. And even somebody without any skydives is able to, you know, try flying wingsuit. And we've got many examples of people with 0 skydives, but actually so insanely good with like all the transitions, acro stuff, just fully indoors.
It's one of the most common answers when you ask somebody on an AFF course, you know, why are you learning to skydive? Wingsuit proximity base. That's
yeah. And there,
say.
yeah, definitely the tunnel has the option of, I think, making the sport a lot safer. I do think it's inherent to how skydivers, especially base jumpers, are. I think a lot of people do take the tunnel as if you want, you can also take it as a shortcut, of course. And I think there's even already something we had expected to see more, but I think at the moment I already know 2 or 3 examples of people that actually use the tunnel as almost a complete bypass of skydiving into wingsuit base, which is, you know, not what it was intended as, but of course also something you will start seeing.
Yeah. So I mean, I've known you for years. We've seen each other plenty of times, different places. But I've always known you as a wingsuiter. Obviously, you've got some skydiving history before that. Tell me a little bit how it started for you.
I think it started 1999. I did back then. I think static line was like the popular training method, and AFF was sort of like what the rich kids did.
Where was that, Jarno? Where did you do your
I started in Netherlands on a drop zone that no longer exists because I think, funny enough, like the flights that we skydivers take to Dubai and abroad to go skydiving are actually the reason that a lot of the smaller clubs in small countries are getting more and more like big air traffic, you know, A380s coming in from other countries. And basically the holding pattern was right over the drop zone where I started. So when I started, jumps from 12,000 feet were quite normal. And then I think 2003, 2004 altitude was like max 9,000 feet. And then a few years later, it was max 6,000 feet. And that just got less and less until at some point that club just ceased to exist because people started to venture out to other drop zones.
Yeah.
But and funny enough, I'd always been on like I basically did most of my jumps just on that one club. And I think the nice thing was there was still like really that sort of old style club atmosphere that's these days is more like commercial centers. And even though you still get that whole thing, but you really had like people taking you under your wing and like immediately like when you sort of, you know, passed your first like relative work two ways, the group of the really experienced, you know, like national champions in Netherlands were almost immediately taking you under their wing and like, oh, join up in a four-way and that kind of stuff. So I think there was definitely, with the sport being smaller back then, it's actually included people right from the start a lot more.
Yeah.
And then I think 2004, I went to Empuria Brava for the first time. Got told off by you for landing towards the runway. Yeah, that was you were never the nice person to see. It's like you were if you came walking back from the landing area, and then you came already walking up to you, and it was like, hey, how's your day? That was like the nice start, and then followed by
I might have been bringing you a coffee, you never know, eh?
Yeah, true. But no, and I think somewhere 2003 I started wingsuiting.
Yeah.
And I did do like I think about 1,000 jumps pre-wingsuiting, doing various things, a bit of tandem video, some four-way, a bit of free fly. And yeah, from there, just slowly started wingsuiting more and more and really liked it. And from being, I think, in Europe together with like Andy Ford and a couple of others, there wasn't too many people doing it really as a discipline. There was quite a few people doing it here or there a jump. And it just really sort of caught on. And from there, slowly started doing it more and more, and people asking for helps and tips. So for many years, I was sort of coaching, but more, just helping friends out. And then slowly that took my real job, which was like 3D animation, special effects work, and slowly actually took that out and turned the wingsuit skydiving into like a full-time job.
Has it the other world, the animation, and is it all gone for you now? Do you get involved?
No, I still, it's thankfully like the last 10, 15 years, like with computers being more portable, it's still something that I can do on the road. And I still do quite a lot of work. A lot of it is bled into like the actual work that I do. So doing like, like for like our wingsuit team, like these kind of like design things, a lot of video editing, because I always just more from like a personal enjoyment thing. I love editing videos on just anything we do, even though it's never sort of the goal we set out to do. But when we go skydive training for a week, I just afterward love putting something together to so that afterwards you have a nice like memory on what you did. And I still do here or there like graphic work. Funny enough, a lot is like skydive related as well. And but I think there's skydiving itself, unless you're really like running full time around on a drop zone, is not an easy thing to make a living without sort of, close to working yourself to death.
Yes.
And there, I think a lot of people, it's either you fun jump or you work hard. And I think the quite often we get these requests with like the team we have. People are like, oh, do you have like internships or this and that? But just, getting a bag of cash and just, have fun jumping. Sadly, there's not too many jobs of that, like that around.
Yeah. How about the team? Tell me how you got your team together.
Well, it started actually 2006, and then jokingly we came up with the name Fly Like Brick.
Yeah,
and
great name.
Yeah, and that's that joke slowly got more serious and serious. Then 2008 we actually came up, me together with my teammate back then, Kostijn. We came up with the basically with the competition formats for acrobatic wingsuit flying. Definitely we were not the first doing like the acrobatics. I think the first thing that I saw was actually Loïc Jean-Albert doing, I think already 1999, doing a lot of like the rollovers and acrobatic stuff. And that was always the side of wingsuit flying I liked, but everybody else seemed to just like flocking, like formation flying, and basically just looking at somebody's shoe for like a full jump. And I really enjoyed that more dynamic side of flying. And then supported by Tony Suits, Phoenix Fly, and S Fly, they were basically all came to this first like trial competition that we organized in Skydive Spa in Belgium.
Yeah,
2008.
2008, right?
Yeah. And from there, that format sort of took off, and like I think the best year we had something like 15 or 17 teams. And there was competition. Basically, every year there was like an international competition, even though it didn't really have any official validation.
Yeah.
And from there, it got accepted into the FAI in, what was it, 2015, I think. And that actually, I think in the beginning, slightly set the format back a bit. For I think the rules were understandably simplified a lot when it came to the FAI, which a lot of the wingsuiters like having like 60 seconds working time instead of the working altitude we originally had.
Yeah.
Slowly over the years, through everyone's input, that came back into the FAI. I think the biggest thing that didn't help was that wingsuiting was in general a small sport. And if we looked at the format before FAI, there was a lot of like mixed nationality teams.
Yeah.
And of course, with FAI, it's like representing one country. So that made it in the beginning, we were seeing competitions with 10 to 15 teams. And then when it went to FAI, it was always struggling to find 4, 5, 6 teams.
Yeah, of course. I never thought about that, actually. That's actually very good point,
yeah, funny enough, because back then I was still living in the Netherlands, and my teammate back then was living in Belgium, which is only a 1.5 hour drive, but different countries.
Right.
So the moment I had my big success, together with the help of Zach Schreudel and Klaus Reinwald and a lot of others that helped get the format into FAI, basically it meant like, yay, it's in FAI. And then it was like, shit, I cannot compete anymore.
Oh, man. Yeah.
So yeah, then even though I knew that, so there I was always, I was just trying to, make that specific discipline grow. And the participation itself was for me something I love, but not the most important thing. And then I would say around 3.5 years ago, I met Jenna. And yeah, I think that was just an instant click from the beginning in just any aspect. Like beautiful Swiss girl. That was, I think, the main thing where I was wow. But also somebody where it was somebody for the first time where everything I did, I had somebody else where if I wanted to start writing up a thing for an event, she was like, I already did that. And if I was like, oh, let's plan this and that, she already made a planning. And if I wanted to talk about, oh, we should start training, she already booked something for us to train. And somebody that basically shares that same enthusiasm. And any flight we did in the tunnel, like I think together, just own flying, we have probably a good 80 or 100 hours in the tunnel doing like two-way training.
Yes.
And I think we have not had once a flight where we came out of the tunnel with, that was just perfect, we're done. Like both of us always having like fun feedback, but at the same time, even in our most serious training, always having smiles. And, if I make a mistake, getting like a sarcastic smile back. And it's just always great fun. And for me, it's even turned my skydiving into the point where if I get the the option of doing like a formation skydive or a training jump with her, that training jump actually brings me more joy, and you know, is to me more dynamic flying. Wow. And the last few years we've also been taking that stuff from skydiving into base, which adds a lot of other fun factors to, you know, starting to already work in low airspeed, working with limited altitude. And I think they're a thing that I always was jealous of, like many years, was basically what Fred and Vince have, where you see this sort of brotherhood where in everything you do, I think in Fred and Vince you always saw this sort of like in-air communication and basically flying brothers. And I think that is a thing that's very rare in this sport. And I think with Jenna, I like around 2 years ago in flying, I think we sort of developed that click where we seem to instantly know what the other one is thinking about. And I think it's a thing that I was always jealous of. And like now that I have it, I'm almost not too interested to jump with others, because it's so much fun to fly, and you see and communicate so much with just a look.
Wow. This is absolutely, I'm sure every woman watching this now is just, their heart has melted. It's what a beautiful testimonial to a relationship that is. It's absolutely gorgeous.
I think the relationship, like outside of all the skydiving stuff, that is something that we keep offline a bit as well. Yes. But because we really just want to show the flying what we do. And I think that what I admire most in Jenna is that she is not like, you know, I think like Cornelia Mihai is like a similar example. She is not like a female skydiver.
Exactly.
Like it's actually beating all the boys at the games. And, you know, like if you watch Jenna, she's flying with me, but if she had somebody of her own skill, she would also, without me, be beating everyone, including me. You know, she's just a good skydiver. So not even needing that label of like, I am the best female. No, it's just beating everyone at their game. And then having somebody as a partner in flying, and they're a really meeting like team partner, where, you know, if we fly on Monday, she's the better one. If we fly on Tuesday, I'm the slightly better one, but it keeps pushing each other up.
Yeah.
And I think that is the biggest thing. And, you know, just loving what you're doing, just for your own reasons, and not really for like the validation. And there, I think we're actually, funny enough, both quite different. Like I'm definitely the one that's just in general in talking quite loud always, but I'm not too shy to say, you know, we did this. And Jenna is actually like, you almost need to pry her mouth open to talk about what we do.
Yeah.
And like bragging about what we do is like not her thing. So there it's there. I definitely have some lessons to learn there about modesty from like the way she approaches it. But yeah, that balance is I think really good actually in like our team and in what we do. And then I've now been living with her in Switzerland for the last 2 years, and yeah, it's just been amazing. And also, you know, being raised in Holland, which is about as flat as it can be. And yeah, they're having Switzerland now with the mountains and like all the outdoor sports. Like it's been such a healthy change for me in everything. And yeah, then on top of that, we have our camera guy, which funny enough is also a former Dutch guy, but who's been living in Switzerland, I think already 8 or 10 years, René ter Stegen. And we invited him to be, because we were always like a two-way team.
Yes.
And we needed a cameraman living in Switzerland for our team as well. And then I thought of René, even though he wasn't really a wingsuiter. He was mostly the guy making fun of wingsuiters.
Right.
But with his extensive experience in other disciplines and the limited wingsuit experience he had, he just took to it without any problems. And him being a really good camera guy, he really was like the missing link in our team. And yeah, I'm really proud of looking at like what's together with Jenna and René we've accomplished the last 3 years as a team. It's so far every competition we've been to, we've managed to take first place podium.
Fantastic.
But at the same time, I'm really hoping for the Mondial to actually, you know, have other teams where we're looking at the jumps and like, oh shit, this is going to be a hard one, because I think that competition will be the thing that drives everyone to get better.
Who you got your eyes on at the moment? Who do you think is out there?
I think at the moment there's several teams. There's I think our main competition is definitely, I think, Espen and Amber from Norway. And I think looking at like what they're doing with their team, I think they're quite similar in many ways. You know, a couple, most likely also that same in-air connection, that same drive in everything they do.
Yeah.
And you know, it's like when we're coaching in Sweden, like also like we were past week. Yeah, it's basically them and us alternating almost in the tunnel with training and flying. And I think they are definitely the people to that we have to, you know, watch out for and hopefully be fighting for the podium for.
Right.
And yeah, furthermore, there's several other teams. There's some coaches from the tunnel that I think are putting together a German team. There's 2 really good Russian teams that are coming. Although I think with the current, I think they're not Russia, but I think blank country, right, with the current anti-doping rules or a thing going on. What else was there? I think and there's one other really good US team as well coming. And so, yeah, there's plenty of competition, and it's definitely not like a cookie cutter, like it's going to be this team that wins.
Yeah.
Because I think it's also off the level where even if you have a good head start on a team, if you have one round where you make a mistake, immediately whatever lead you have is gone. So it's, I definitely think that the Mondial this August is definitely going to be one of the most interesting wingsuit competitions we've had to date, because it's quite a level playing field.
It's going to be really interesting. Hopefully I'll be there with you guys as well. Wow, with being in Switzerland, have you been doing any paragliding while you've been there?
No, and that is something where I want to, but because
René's quite big, isn't he? Into
yeah. He's René lives in Mure on top of basically on top of Lauterbrunnen, and he, I think, always only takes the gondola back up, but always paraglides down to work, or almost always. So no, it's there. That's more my personal problem. Like any sport that I see that I like, I sort of go full in. And I did like free diving for many years, dancing of all things.
You were dancing?
Not anymore. Like that was something I did from like age 16, 17 to 20, 25 or something.
What kind of dancing?
Ballroom dancing of all things.
Incredible. I didn't know that. This is why I love this format, because we find things out like this. What were you competing? Were you competing in ballroom dancing?
No. Just competing like local stuff. But you have to see that like even for like Dutch standards, I came from about like the tiniest town on the edge of the map.
Yes.
So it's there. It's like a village where I grew up. So there wasn't too much happening there in that way. But no, I have this bad habit of like any sport I start and getting way too much into it. And like free diving was a big thing for many years, what I love to do. Yes. Still would love, but both Switzerland and the Netherlands are not really the nicest places to go.
What about like this pool in Poland?
Yeah, deep spot is definitely something I would love to go to.
Yeah.
Jenna not, because she's, regardless if it's a pool or a lake, she's afraid of sharks.
Right.
Which makes sense. But no, with stuff like paragliding and other things, it's something where if I tried, I probably know I'd like it and I'd want to buy the stuff, but then I would have another hobby that I don't have time for. And there's already so many things I'd love to do, but don't have the time or budget for to do.
Yes, good. Is Jenna there off camera right now? Is Jenna?
No. She's yesterday we left Sweden. Yes. And I'm now doing like a one-day stopover in Netherlands because it's my dad's birthday today.
Happy birthday to your father.
And it was my own birthday yesterday.
Oh, congratulations. How old are you now? At what age is that?
43.
43.
The beanie is to hide the gray hairs. or you shave it all, you know.
Just shave it all off. That's the best. So tell me, before the Mondial, so what you're doing just talk me through your plan now, from now to for the summer.
We're going 3 days to Portugal just to relax, not do anything, because we've been working. We've flown a good 30 hours in the Wingsuit tunnel last week, teaching students.
Wow.
So at the moment, the bodies and the mind need a bit of rest.
Yes.
So that is the first plan. Then we're back in Switzerland for a few days. And then basically next week, Thursday or Friday, if I'm correct, we're flying to Seville. Yeah. Sevilla. And then we're doing a bit over a week of training there, even though the drop is closed for 2 of those days, but we're going to be in Sevilla. Then when we come back, we're probably going to do a bit of training either in Switzerland or just across the border in Germany, because the jumps are a bit cheaper there.
Right.
So that's the thing I'm not getting used to, like 45 euros for a jump in Switzerland.
Is it?
And then we're last week of May, we're heading back to Sweden, because we basically, through our team, flylikebrik.com, every month we do a camp in Sweden. People often think we live in Sweden, but yeah, they're in just full-time being in a tunnel. I think if it's your thing, it's amazing. But to us, like actually being outdoors, skydiving, base jumping, flying, and just, having a life outside of the tunnel is too nice not to.
Important. Yeah.
So we travel to Sweden. We do 1 week a month camp, and that is basically also what dictates our planning a little bit. So last week of May, last week of June, we do another camp. Thankfully, we're seeing these camps really filling up again as well. So if anybody's interested in coming to the tunnel, definitely give me a shout through Instagram, Facebook, or through our website, and join one of the camps. But and then in between those camps, we're doing training quite a bit outdoors as well. And next to that, we have then complete July, we have completely free just for training for the Mondial. And and then August is it's game time.
Indeed, it is.
And then we travel to Russia, and then after that it's gonna be I think a bit off the competitive jumping and doing a bit more of the just fun jumping, and probably going to like a boogie or something.
Yeah.
We're currently quite eager to go to the US, like either going to Skydive Arizona or Skydive Elsinore or Paris, one of the three. Jenna and I are planning to go there for a good 2.5 weeks, doing 1.5 week of one-on-one coaching, because we've got a lot of people requesting that there.
Yeah.
And then doing like a week of own training. But the hardest thing at the moment is getting into the US. And even though we do meet all the qualifications, being like a coach in a sport, coaching like local athletes that are participating at the national level, etc., it's still very hard to actually get the visa applications looked at. So I think until the US fully reopens for Europeans to travel, it's that's probably a thing that for us is a bit on the back burner.
Right.
But a lot of things happening, and then
good.
But
I know you've got a flight to catch.
Yeah.
I'll let you get away, my friend. But thank you for joining us. Happy birthday for yesterday. Happy birthday to your father today. Lots of love to Jenna and the rest of the team. And hopefully I'll see you in Russia.
Yeah, hope so too. Then we have some vodka together.
Yes. Take care, my friend. Good to see you. Bye-bye.
Good to see you. Bye-bye.